Well, he's a cutie pie. I might put him in Potomac. Okay, yes. Yeah, he can come right on to Potomac.
Skye Squad, we are back in the building. Oh yes, we got to discuss the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. We got some more tea that's spilling out. We got the seating chart, and we got to talk about Gizelle getting the heat at this season's reunion. Oh yes, she is getting all the smoke at this season's reunion. Oh yes, we got to give you all the details about that. But before we do so, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell button, and now let's get into the news, all right? So, you know, the seating chart is typically, it's a big thing in the Bravo world. We always talk about the seating chart when it comes to reunion. That's like after the looks, it's the seating chart. We want to know where each person was seated in relation to Andy Cohen. Because here's the thing, typically the two people that are closest to Andy are the two people that had the most drama, or they're one of the two faces of the show, of that franchise, of that particular city. You know what I'm saying? So let's say, for instance, with Atlanta, it's always going to be Nene that's seated next to Andy in some way, shape, or form, okay? Now, typically, we've been seeing a lot of Porsha having that seat as well over the past couple of years. Now that the reunion is not going to be virtual, we have seen, you know, for the most part, Porsha has gotten that seat in the past couple of years. With Jersey, it's always going to be Teresa. Always going to be Teresa. And with Potomac, it seems like it's always going to be Karen and Gizelle. Now, we know from Andy Cohen's mouth this season that Karen and Gizelle did get those seats, although that is very surprising to me. And let me tell you why. Because the other way that the seating chart typically works is that the two ladies who had the most drama tend to get those seats beside Andy, which is how Porsha ended up rising to the top, because in those seasons, she had a lot of the drama, but there was also Nene there, so it only makes sense that Nene would get that other seat opposite Porsha. But back to Real Housewives of Potomac. Now, it seemed to me that Candiace and Monique will get those two seats closest to Andy because they're the ones who had the most beef. Now, I don't know if this was strategy or if this was security. I don't know what it was, but for whatever reason, we have Candiace seated beside Gizelle, and we'll get into more of that in just 1 second. But we want to first establish that the two faces of this franchise are seated next to Andy. That's Karen and that's Gizelle. Now, before we get into that, I want to make note. Now, you guys may notice that it was just last year that Karen did not get that first chair beside Andy, and that was because Darby ended up getting it because of the high levels of drama that she was in last season. But Gizelle still got that seat. But this year, Karen is back in that seat. So now let's go on and discuss Gizelle's right side of the couch. Now, we see here, we have Gizelle, and then we have Candiace, and then we have Wendy. Now, this is not a shock to me because these ladies have been firmly on their own side of the aisle after the whole altercation went down, and they are fully team Candiace. And so it's not surprising to me that Candiace has that second seat because she had the most drama this season. Let's just face it, she did. Dr. Wendy Asefo also had a lot of drama this season, so I'm not surprised by her seating place either. But what's really shocking to me is when we get down to the other side, because to me, technically, Robyn should be on this side of the aisle, and I also think that Robyn should have gotten that seat beside Wendy on the end. And it's really mostly for the reason that I feel like Robyn hasn't had a lot of story this season, and we've only gotten much more of Robyn because we've gotten much less of Monique. That's kind of what it seems like ultimately. And this is not a dig against Robyn. This is not anything against her. It's just in terms of how her storyline has played out. We've seen a lot more of Robyn in the second half of the season than we really did in the first half of the season. And she hasn't had that high of a level of drama with anybody thus far, except for Karen, which is why it doesn't make sense that she's seated beside Karen Huger on the other side. Now, I want to move on to that other side because this is where things kind of go haywire to me. For me, honestly, I would have anticipated, again, Monique getting that seat next to Andy, but if we're going to go by who the faces are of the franchise, then it's obviously going to be Karen. Then I would have thought it would have been Monique because that would have put her at even footing with Candiace. But oddly, we have Robyn thrown in the mix on this side. And I don't know if they did that to sort of mix things up and shake things up a bit, but it's just kind of odd to me. It doesn't really make sense. I don't even get that because you typically don't put two people who have an issue with each other beside each other, and they don't have the best of relationships, it seems, as the season has gone on. So I'm kind of shocked by that. So then we have Robyn, and then we have Ashley, and then we have Monique. Now, for me, I feel like Ashley has always had a high level of drama on this show. So to me, I could see her getting the seat beside Karen if that was going to be the case. But I can't see her on the other side of Robyn because she had much more drama than Robyn had this season. But I kind of feel like they put Monique on the end, mostly because it seems like they tried to cut Monique's scenes because she couldn't really film with the rest of the ladies. It's the ice out effect, you know what I'm saying? They don't want her at events. And I think from what they're saying, she didn't want to be invited to events either. So we have that dynamic going on. So we have this whole weird seating chart going on. So now let's move on into the tea with Gizelle, okay? So Gizelle was on Bravo's chat room earlier this week, and I don't know if you guys happened to capture it. I didn't catch it until much later, okay? And Bravo TV just posted a comment about how emotional this season's reunion actually was. So Gizelle lets everybody know that she had it rough at the reunion. They're talking about emotional moments on reality TV. And Gizelle is describing one of her most emotional moments, and she says it comes from this season's reunion. Here's what she had to say. She said, a major breakdown recently, and you guys will see as a little tease to the reunion, is I was sitting there very nice and pretty, and everybody and their grandmother was coming for me for about 8 hours. And then the last 2 hours, I just lost it, okay? Wait and see. It was a doozy. It didn't go well for me. She said that there were F-bombs being thrown, MFers this. So it's surprising to me that the First Lady broke. Okay, let me explain to you what I mean by that. Gizelle's strength has typically lied in the fact that she can toss out digs, stir up drama, then smile and apologize. And even when confronted, she remains her composure. And even you can see this even online. She doesn't get down into the in the mud with the people. She doesn't respond to the haters or anything like that. She just kind of seems to rise above it all. So that's typically been her strength. And I will say that is usually a person's saving grace when they're under fire, is that they can remain composed. That's how you stand your ground in the best way possible, especially when you're on a reality television show. However, it sounds like whatever happened for those 8 hours, she's making it seem like it was some rough stuff out there, okay, for 8 hours. And then in those last 2 to 3 hours, she broke. And if she was running around talking F this and MF or that, the way she claimed on the Bravo's chat room, this is about to be one heck of a reunion. And I gotta tell you guys, to me, this is something that we needed to see from Gizelle. We needed to see her have this moment. And we will need to see her have this moment because it's going to be a moment of retribution for a lot of people, especially for all of the marriages and stuff like that she's, kind of attacked, and things that she said on the show and the things that she's been accused of doing behind the scenes. It's going to be a moment that people are going to be waiting for. And I feel like she is going to deserve to have this moment. Now, here's what I will say, because I don't want to put somebody in one position, but then don't allow them a way to get out of it. I will also say this. It humanizes a person when they have those moments on reality television. It brings them down a notch. It humbles them. And if it works well, it can actually change that person and make them a lot more interesting to the viewer because now they've been through something. And typically in past seasons, she's not been through anything. She's not gone through the mud. She's not had this moment that every other reality television OG has had. All the OGs on any of these shows have had people come for them left and right. They've had those reunions where they've had to suffer through people just gunning for them and coming for them and coming for them. She hasn't really had that moment. She's kind of been able to be, I don't want to say that she's been saved by production or anything like that. I just kind of feel like she hasn't had anybody really come at her in the way that she's gone after other people. So it'll be interesting to see how this whole situation plays out. And these are her words. So, if she said it herself, it's got to be something crazy. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you think came hardest for her at the reunion. I want to know your thoughts before we actually get to see some footage of this reunion go down. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell button and y'all know what's up. I'm going to see you in the next video.